Welcome, Graham, and thanks for taking part in these sort of senior leadership sessions that we're doing at the moment. And you've been in the market for a long time, and I really appreciate getting your point of view on where you think what the market's doing at the moment, and which direction you think it's going to go in as well, which is going to be really, really important, I think.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Do you know what I think? Because it's probably a subject that we're both really aware of. And I would like to sort of probably touch on MIS first of all, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously a lot of changing in the MIS market at the moment. And I know you put out, through Amiga Pegasus, you put out a lot of information about what the sort of changes in the market shape, a little bit like Josh Perry does as well. So you basically have a lot of, you gather all the information together from Census, and also at the same time do that sort of analysis on where you think the market is going. So what do you think is happening at the moment in the MIS market? Do you see any major changes, or do you think it's just going to be a steady pace of change from SIMs to other solutions, or do you think it's actually going to raise and go faster, or what's your view?
Yeah, I mean, I start when I started the MIS analytics piece, which is almost 10 years ago now. Which actually in prep for this, I only realised it was that long ago, and I can't believe it. I started that with one very, very clear mission, which was to kind of let the industry know, let the market know, schools and whatnot, that there were who the providers were, and that there were more providers out there. At the time, I'd actually started just working for a brand new MIS product that came over from America, and in talking to schools, the view was that the only products out there, the only vendors out there, was Capita Sims, and as it was at the time, Serco with CMIS. And I was shocked, and more shocked that in a short space of time, I was able to establish the Aspin product as the third option to schools, and I was almost horrified at that. I mean, it was great for us, but I was horrified that it was, that there wasn't more known about all the other providers that were out there. Some of them are not around anymore. Some of them are much, much smaller than they are now. But many of them are out there. So what I really wanted to do was find a way and very easily show that there were other providers out there. And actually, I'd seen that other people, for sales purposes, have been doing these freedom of information requests to get this information together. And you're right, absolutely. Josh Perry and I have both kind of done this, almost in parallel. We've actually worked together for a small period of time. We have a lot of conversations about all of this. And what's most important for both of us is that we're showing, the cold hard facts of who the vendors are, where they're kind of based, or where they're located, where they're doing well, and what the kind of the movements in the marketplace are, who's going up and who's going down. From my perspective, I think that provides some really good cold hard truths to show that MIS providers, are increasing their score base and decreasing as well. We've seen some providers that have really suffered over kind of the past 5 years. Some that have absolutely grown amazingly. Organisations like ScholarPack and Arbor, have done so well just recently. ISAMs, continuing their inroads into the state school market as well. RM just continue to be there, as up until very recently as the second place, in terms of numbers of schools there, and they've held that for so long as well now. So the whole purpose of that project was just to really shine a light on that, and I'm grateful that so many people see it and use it, just as an information piece. It's not something that I tend to get involved in the commentary of, what those stats mean. Josh certainly does, a lot more than he does it so well as well. I'm an analytics and data person. I like to show the trends and visualize them for all to kind of see and make that data very, very accessible. So then back, to where the market is going, and what the data is showing, in particular. ScholarPack continue to make those big inroads. People really like the products that they have got. Arbor, continues to do well, really focusing on multi-academy trust, and I'm really interested with their mat wide platform that they're talking about a lot now as well. We've seen such a shift in the past 5 years of the buying power of multi-academy trust, the larger multi-academy trust. So they're very much going after one or maybe two different MIS products across their entire trust. If it's two, likely it's one for primaries, one for secondaries. And that's great. There's such a such a large number of benefits to doing that for those multi-academy trusts. So because of that, what we are seeing is that huge deals are being done in one go here. It was only a few weeks ago United Learning took on Arbor for all of their schools. I forget how many that is now, but I think it's 60-70 schools, something like that.
Odd, yeah.
So it's a huge number of schools. In one deal, and for Arbor, in terms of the numbers of schools that they've previously got, that's a huge jump. That was, I think, at the time it was close to about 10% of increase in customer base, which is absolutely fantastic. And those numbers keep fluctuating, and I think that's just going to continue to happen. I think like anything, I think it reached a tipping point whereby, so many schools are now understanding that ScholarPack and Arbor in particular are doing such a great job. ISAMS, Bromcom, are doing a good job as well. That those organisations, they're proven now. Schools are trusting them, trusts are trusting them, and so not only are those numbers moving very, very quickly organically, but then more schools are taking notice of them. And there has always been that perception in the marketplace, whether they like it or not, that Sims is old, and when is Sims going to bring out their new version, etc., and and so people are starting to either get a bit tired of that, or now wait, understanding that there are those other options in the marketplace, and they are viable. They are really good to go after, and so people are now ready to take that chance. I think the cost of change as well is much lower. I think all of the MIS providers have really woken up over the past few years to actually, it's not just the tech, it's the change. It's the change for your staff. It's the change in particular for your office staff. Yep. And this is very, very stereotypical, but it might be the older reception lady or something like that really does want to doesn't want to move away. She's very happy with what she's got, but actually the cost of change is still there, but the process of making that change is so much smoother that anybody can kind of take that on, make those changes and see the benefits that those new systems have had. And so, with all of that, I just think that the numbers are just going to keep fluctuating. Capita will, their market share that they've had for so long now will continue to change, will continue to drop. The three or four, let's call them the second big ground of players, your Bromcoms, your Arbors, your ScholarPacks, and whoever, even your RMs, will continue to, take those new numbers away. And I think it's interesting as well with the specialisms that are being shown as well. ScholarPack have come to the market and shown, we just want to focus on primaries. Arbor really going after maths, doing a huge amount of works with multi-academy trusts and thought leadership in that area as well. And I think that's really interesting, that they're focused. They're not just saying, well, we'll take any schools and we can cover all of their bases. No, we'll focus our products on one particular market area, and we'll make sure it's absolutely spot on for that market area. And I think that's quite refreshing and something that's really only come about, I've been made really prominent in the last kind of few years. So I think that's a new area that will be exploited even more, is organizations, and it's not just in MIS. I think organizations across the board will be really focused on one particular market segment, whether it be multi-academy trusts at the trust level, secondaries, primaries, special schools, independent schools still, and they will refocus on those and making sure that their products are very, very good, very specifically for those areas.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. In fact, there's loads of content there, which I was sort of thinking about some of the things you're saying. Number one, by the way, I think, and you should take a load of credit for this as well as Josh as well. I think what actually your analysis does already is provide some of that confidence. You think about the referenceability. If people are thinking about changing and they can see that actually a company or few companies actually have been in the market for a long time, and actually they are serving their customers really well and they're growing, I think that actually that information is really important from globally across the market. It allows people to then go, actually, do you know what? We can trust them. one thing I think Sims did have some time ago was, and probably, well, maybe still now with a number of customers, is that trust element. It's like you say, that person in the school going, can I afford to allow somebody else to do my census? And it's at that base level almost. And this is our funding. So can I allow someone else to do the census? And now I think it's a case of going, yeah, actually we can. Everybody can do it. Everyone can be trusted. So that's a good place to be. So I agree. I think that is important. And I think also what you said about segmentation, being a product manager yourself, you absolutely fundamentally know that, niche, putting something into a niche is one of the best places to start, segment your market, understand what their needs are. And I think Richard Scholarpack has done that really, really well. He understood that actually the primary sector needed to be served better than basically with a sledgehammer to crack a nut, which is what, let's face it, what Sims was.
And it's really, and it's really interesting as well, because absolutely hats off to Richard and the whole team there with what they did, because it would have been so tempting to have when they reached kind of 200-300 customers to go, well, actually, do you know what, we could hit secondaries in up in the kind of the Lancashire area where they're based and whatnot. That they could have said, well, we could really go after this, but they didn't. They stuck to their guns and they made sure that they provided, and absolutely spot on what you just said there, which is one of the complaints with primary schools in particular, I've worked with many of them, is that they need simpler tools. They don't need really complex tools. It's not to say that they can't understand or use them, not by any means, but they don't need really complex tools. Primary schools are typically that they have different focuses on, particularly with assessment. They're very, very specific focuses on what they kind of need. Behavior management, in the same way that secondary schools do, is less of a need, for example. It's not to say that they don't, but there's a different need for it. And so Scholarpack really have gone in and said, we don't need to, and we also don't need to spend huge amount of resources on doing the complex things that are in MISs, which is timetabling, exams management, some area of curriculum management as well. Those complex, technical things to do and understand. We don't need to worry about those. We'll focus on the bits and pieces that we can deliver, and we'll do them as best as we possibly can. And and that's really, really great to see. And I think it would, like you say, it would have been so tempting to have gone after other areas, but they didn't. And the rewards that they're getting off this now is showing.
Yeah,